I'm Alyssa, and I am back from about a 2-month break, which when you're seeing this video, it's probably been 2 or 3 weeks since you saw a video I posted last, but I haven't filmed one in like 2 months. I'm kind of feeling noobish now, and I've honestly missed filming videos, and this is obviously my August and September favorites because I decided to combine the two because I was traveling and yada 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 yada, life. So, if you're new to my channel, hello! And also, my favorites are where I share my favorite books, movies, TV shows, video games, etc. that I loved in the previous month, or months if I get behind. So, let's just cut to that since I got all the explanatory stuff out of the way. The sole book that I really enjoyed in August or September was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I already talked about this book in my reading wrap-up, which I'll have linked in the iCard up above for you to check out. So watch that video if you want my impressions of this, but it's another win from Riley Sager. He is one of my favorite novelists of the current age, and all of his books I've just thoroughly loved and given 5 stars. Now on to all the movies. There are quite a few since I'm talking about 2 months worth, so let's just get started. But by the way, if you want to see all the movies I watch, why I rate them, read my little reviews I post, follow me on Letterboxd. The link is in the description box down below the video. It's just a really fun app. I have a lot of fun using it. Not sponsored, I just love it a ton. And I love to follow people and see what you watch and rate things, and that kind of influences how I feel about certain things too, so it'd be really cool to be friends on there. But the first movie I want to talk about is Ash is Purest White. Ash is Purest White, I thought for some reason was a revenge film, like she was going to get vengeance, and it's totally not. But it was still a really excellent film. This movie follows a woman who is very much in love with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is carrying an illegal gun, and she takes the fall for him once he is found having that gun. And the film jumps 5 years ahead to after she's gotten out of prison, and she's fully expecting her boyfriend to be there, to be excited to see her, and he's nowhere to be found. She can't contact him. And this is really just about her finding out what happens after you do something and take the fall for something you're not really to blame for. It's about self-sacrifice, about discovering who you really are. It's about how people treat you after an event like this, about how people change. It's just a very powerful movie. It is a little slow burning, but I really enjoyed the character development in the film. I really love the acting. It's phenomenal, and I was just thoroughly invested the entire time. And even though it wasn't, you know, an action-packed revenge fest like I thought it was going to be, it was still a really excellent drama slash slice of life film. It was just really intriguing to see this woman have to go through the motions of life after being released from prison for something she didn't do. The next movie up is Speed. Yes, this is the first time I'd ever watched Jan de Bont's infamous, fantastic film starring Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. Pretty much everyone knows what Speed's about, but if you don't, Speed is about this terrorist who plants a bomb on a bus, and Keanu Reeves plays a police officer who boards the bus and has to help the woman who is driving the bus, played by Sandra Bullock, and the passengers stay calm and follow the directions from the terrorists so the bus doesn't blow up. And the thing is, the bus has to be going 55 miles per hour or higher, or the bus is kaboom. And it's just such a thrilling action film that pretty much stands up to the test of time. There is one sequence that I think even when it came out was kind of unbelievable, but I mean, I was surprised how well this held up, and I loved Keanu, I loved Sandra, I thought this was excellent. I don't know if I want to see the sequel because it has nothing to do with the original besides Sandra Bullock's character, but the first one is phenomenal. One of my favorite Keanu Reeves movies. It's just excellent. Continuing on with the Keanu trend, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. This is the sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which if you haven't seen that, which I'm sure you have, I can't really talk about this one too much without giving away the plot for the first movie, but this is just the return of Bill and Ted, and it shows them living a not so tubular existence after certain events transpire. It's just like the first one. It's full of humor, and the chemistry between Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves is full of just warm-hearted bromance and time travel shenanigans. I really love this sequel, and I think this is an excellent film series so far. I'm so excited for Face the Music whenever it comes out. But yes, I love Bill and Ted so freaking much. The next movie up is one I feel like a lot of people haven't seen or heard about, and that's The Peanut Butter Falcon. This is a story about a man with Down syndrome who is played wonderfully by Zachary Gottsagen. If I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. But it follows this man as he wants to meet his hero, this wrestler, I forget the wrestler's name, and his friend at the assisted living home he is living at, played by Bruce Dern, helps him escape, and the woman who is kind of in charge of him, Dakota Johnson, is searching for him, and in the meantime he finds Shia LaBeouf's character and they bond, and Shia LaBeouf's character wants him to live a full life. He doesn't want him to be constrained to an assisted living facility, and he really wants this man to fulfill his dreams and meet his favorite wrestler, and it's just so heartwarming and so fun, and it is emotional at points. I really loved it. My boyfriend loved it. It's a hidden gem. It is one of the best films I've seen so far this year, and so many people have not even heard of this movie. They didn't watch it when it came out for a very limited time in theaters, and I'm so glad I got to see it, and it's so wonderful to see an actor with Down syndrome portray a character with Down syndrome so wonderfully, and to show how amazing anyone with Down syndrome is. I've had experience with people with Down syndrome, and they are just so lovely, and it's so wonderful to see a spotlight being shown on them, and this was just such a lovely film. The next film is Ready or Not. This was just a purely fun, it's not really a slasher movie, but kind of is. But it's just based around a game of hide and seek that is extremely deadly. Samara Weaving is wonderful as the lead character. She marries a man in this wealthy family who started up a board game franchise, business, whatever you want to call it. And every time they get married into this family, they have to draw a card from a pile, and that dictates what game they play on their wedding night. But if the person draws hide or seek, then the whole family has to kill the person that just got married into the family, or else they risk dying themselves. And it's just so over the top. All the actors are just game. They're having fun with these roles, and it was a lot of fun. It's not a perfect movie, but it's great to watch around Halloween. It's just a great time in general. Again, Samara Weaving is excellent, as is Adam Brody. I also really have a soft spot for Christian Brune, who appears in this movie. I just think he's a wonderful actor, and Andy McDowell is great. I mean, everyone's great. So watch this movie if you want to have a fun time. It's not scary or anything like that. It's gory, but it's fun. And Ready or Not, you should be ready for this rather than not. Okay, my puns are stupid. Got more movies to go, people, because now we're moving on to the September movies. The first one that I loved in September was Wild Rose. This is a film about a Scottish woman named Rosalind Harlan, who is played beautifully by Jessie Buckley, who dreams of being a country and western singer, but obviously being in Glasgow, she doesn't have a lot of opportunities, and she has just gotten out of jail after a year spent in prison, and she has 2 young children who are living with her mother, and she has to juggle being a mother, trying to chase her dreams of being a singer, and just trying to take responsibility for herself, her actions, and clean her life up. It's a wonderful character study. The music is really good and moving, and I just love Jessie Buckley's performance. She is one to keep an eye on in the film scene, and this is just such a wonderful film. If you love films that center on the music industry and people who want to be singers and have wonderful musical performances in them, definitely check out Wild Rose. The next one is a very weird anime film, but that is Penguin Highway. Now, some parts of this movie didn't gel with me as much as I'd hoped, because this is about a 4-year-old boy, but for some reason he is very horny. Like, he is very obsessed with boobs. He is very girl crazy, but not really for girls his age, for older women, and it feels a little creepy. I don't actually know if this is how 4th grade boys actually act because I was never a 4th grade boy. 4th grade boy. But the thing I loved about this movie was the fact that there are these penguins that just randomly appear in this Japanese town and no one knows where they've come from, why they're there. They do know that if the penguins leave the town, they just mysteriously evaporate. And it's just this connection between this older woman and this 4th grade boy. They're trying to figure out where the penguins have come from, why they're there. One of the 4th grade boy's classmates is a very smart girl who also joins them in trying to figure out the conundrum, the mystery of the penguins. And for the most part, this is a very lighthearted, cute, magical realism film that focuses on childhood and all the weird instances that life throws at you. If you can get past the kind of weird, pervy moments of this anime, definitely check out Penguin Highway. It's so cute and thought-provoking and magical. The next movie up is Batman Hush. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I have not read the source material, but Batman Hush, I will say, focuses mostly on the romance between Batman and Catwoman, which I really loved. I love both of these characters, and I love seeing the famous villains from the Rogues Gallery, such as Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, Scarecrow, etc., etc. And I did really like the mystery surrounding who Hush is. But, I mean, again, this film is centering heavily on the Bat-Cat romance. I mean, it's so much fun. The voice acting is top-notch. You're not going to hear Kevin Conroy in this, but still, it's great. It's a really well-done animation, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than The Killing Joke, I can tell you that. So, I really do recommend Batman Hush if you're a Batman fan. If you've read the source material, you might think differently, but if you're going in this with pretty much fresh eyes, I think it's a worthy addition to the DC animated universe of films. Next up is another film that flew under the radar for a lot of people, and that is Brittany Runs a Marathon. This stars Jillian Bell and is based on a true story about this woman who is told by her doctor that she needs to lose between 45 and 55 pounds because her liver is fatty, her BMI is in the extremely overweight category, so she decides instead of paying a gym fee, she is going to start running, and then she gets aspirations to run the New York City Marathon, which is 26.5 miles, I believe. I might be wrong about that. And it's just about her training to run the marathon, how the exercise and the routine and her friendships with the fellow runners changes her life and her outlook on herself and her friendships. It's really inspirational. And even though Jillian Bell's character looks nothing like the actual Brittany, it is a very moving film, and I just really loved it. There are some funny moments, but considering that Jillian Bell's mostly a comedic actor, this is very light on humor. It is much more focused on the characters and their relationships with each other, and I really, really enjoyed this and highly recommend you try to catch it whenever you can because it's wonderful. Another hidden gem that totally flew under the radar, and I mean totally because it got no publicity whatsoever, is Freaks. This stars Emile Hirsch and Bruce Dern. Emile Hirsch plays a father who has kept his young daughter in the house ever since she was born. He's told her that the people outside want to hurt them, that if anything were to happen to him, she goes to the neighbors and pretends to be their daughter. And you're wondering, is the father crazy? Is there actually something going on outside? I'm not going to say anything more than that because it will spoil this wonderful, wonderful story. But it's just so worth watching and checking out and finding because this is one of the most original movies I've seen in quite a bit. The performances are top-notch, especially the young girl. She is played so wonderfully. I cannot remember the actress's name. I should have researched more before this video, but like I said, I'm totally out of practice. But she is so good, and she has such a bright future ahead of her. And again, Emile Hirsch, he's always good. Bruce Dern as well. Just watch this. Watch it. I loved another anime film called The Case of Hana and Alice, which I read that this is a prequel to a live-action movie. But I really enjoyed this anime. This follows a young girl, Alice, who moves to a new town and has to start going to a new school. But when she gets there, she's told that she's sitting in the seat of a student that disappeared. People think he was murdered. They're convincing her that she needs to get an exorcism and all this kind of stuff. But she meets up with Hana, who dropped out of school once the boy disappeared, and they go on a journey to try to find out if the boy that disappeared actually is dead or if he's alive, just went MIA, incognito. It's just a wonderful look at female friendships, and the exorcism parts are entertaining, but this is not a horror movie. It's purely a slice of life, friendship focused mystery anime. It's so many genres and has so many things packed into it, but it's wonderful. I was laughing several times. I felt emotional at points. And I need to know if I need to watch the live action movie now, because this prequel is damn good. And the last film is Downton Abbey. I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan. I dragged my boyfriend to see this when he visited me here in my home state. And it was just like an extended episode of the show. It was just so good. It was so wonderful to be reunited with my beloved Granthams and Crawleys and the staff of Downton Abbey. It was wonderful to see them prepare for the arrival of King George V, I believe, and his wife. And it was so much fun. It felt like being wrapped up in a warm, cozy blanket. And I just loved it so much. Now, I will say, if you're not a Downton Abbey fan, this does not really give you a refresher course, so you probably will be wondering who the hell these people are, why they're there, why they're so important. If you've seen the show, you know the characters, you love/hate the characters, and you have your own opinions about them, and this is just a continuation of the wonderful, magnificent TV series that I love so much. But this film is so faithful to the show, and it's incredible. Now moving on to TV. First up is Rilakkuma Cory. This follows the very famous Sanrio character Rilakkuma and the other two Sanrio characters that I can't think of, the little yellow bird and the fellow white bear, who are adopted by Kaoru, a woman who is living by herself in Japan, and she is just trying to make her way through her job. She's trying to find a romantic partner, trying to figure out how she's going to pay rent, and it's just a slice of life show. The episodes are really short. I believe they're about 20 minutes a piece, maybe less than that. And it's so cute. The animation style is really unique. Everything looks like it's made out of fabric or wood or plastic, and it's just so cute. It's family friendly for the most part. There are a couple of episodes I would say you probably need to watch out for. There is some language, not too bad. But overall, this is such a cute show, and I freaking love it. And I hope there's a second season. Another show I love is On Becoming a God in Central Florida. That is a mouthful, so I will be referring to it as Becoming a God. This stars Kirsten Dunst as a woman named Crystal Stubbs, whose husband, played by Alexander Skarsgård, joined a pyramid scheme called FAM, and due to something that happens to her husband Travis, she has to take up the mantle of his work, and she has a young daughter to take care of, a house that she has to pay the mortgage on, and she just works at a water park, so she has to figure out how she's going to make the money to pay back this pyramid scheme, how she's going to try to honor Travis. And it's just, there's humor, there's drama, really great performance by Kirsten Dunst, and I'm really loving this limited series, and I highly recommend you check it out if you have Showtime, because it is superb. I also watched The Boys, which is just so over the top and violent and full of pretty much everything you don't want children to watch. This is written by the same man who created Preacher, so you kind of know what you're getting, but this is way more out there because it's on Amazon Prime. They don't have any limits. All the actors are great. I love the storyline. I love the crazy stuff that happens, and I am super excited for season 2. And speaking of Preacher, I adored the final season of Preacher. It was just so nice to see how all the storylines wrapped up, see closure for the characters that I fell in love with from the first season. And it was so over the top this season. I think they really pushed the boundaries of what they could do. I even heard one F-bomb in this season, and it airs on AMC, so you know if they're allowed one F-bomb, it's major. But it was just such a worthwhile conclusion to this story arc, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, this next one I'm going to talk about is a mini-series that totally wrecked me, and that was Unbelievable. Unbelievable is based off a true story and follows a young girl named Marie, played by Caitlin Dever, who is raped But when she is questioned by the police, she's questioned over and over, and it makes her so uncomfortable. And the police are basically telling her she's making it up, so she retracts her statement. People think she's a liar, but then a couple years down the road, 4 cases pop up in Colorado, and 2 female detectives investigate multiple cases of women being raped, and they have eerily similar details to what Caitlin Deaver's character described when she was first initially interviewed. The rapist used similar methods, similar tools, and they're convinced that these events are connected, and it's just such a heartbreaking look at how rape victims are treated. It's also very empowering to see these 2 female detectives really take the lead on these cases and make sure these women were vindicated and that they got the closure they needed and were taken care of. It is a very tough watch, but it's so important. I believe it's about 6 episodes long, and it's just one of those shows you just want to sit and watch and binge because it's just so captivating. And the last show is Undone, and this is going to be a show that people either love or hate. This is a rotoscoped show, so if you've seen the film A Scanner Darkly or Richard Linklater's other film Waking Life, you know what the animation style is like. But Undone stars Rosa Salazar and Bob Odenkirk, and focuses on Rosa Salazar's character, Alma, who is kind of in a rebellious phase of her life. Even though she's the older sister, her younger sister's just engaged, she's getting married, but Alma still wants to go out and drink. She wants to party. She doesn't want to settle down with her boyfriend. She doesn't want to get married or have a family. But then she gets in a car accident and ends up in a coma, and she sees her dead father in this coma, and things just get weird and trippy from here. And if you're not wanting to get your mind effed, don't watch this show. But this is a very heavy science fiction show that has themes around mental illness. I thought it was utterly fascinating. This is a very short watch. Each episode is under 30 minutes. I believe, again, there's 6 or 8 episodes. It's very short, but very impactful and powerful. I do hope they continue the story because it's so intriguing, and the performances were so well done. But this is something you definitely need to check out if you're into more experimental type of TV shows, because it's so fascinating. And the games I loved over the past 2 months. First up is Control, the latest game from Remedy, who made Alan Wake and Quantum Break and Max Payne. Control is so excellent. Besides the last part of the game, that part's not that great to be honest. But Control, you play as Jessie Faden, a woman who has powers that goes to the oldest house where she is anointed the new director, and she's trying to find her brother. And there's just weird stuff going on at the oldest house. There's this mysterious entity called the Hiss there that just totally takes over people and possesses them, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. It is a very, very, very confusing game. You have to find pretty much every document and audio log and video to try to piece together the story and to discover the themes that the story is centered on. But it's so captivating, and it's so much fun to get all these different powers that Jessie has and use them against the enemies that are possessed by the Hiss. And even though you're going around the same building over and over, it doesn't really feel repetitive because the environments change, things change. It's a very confusing game to try to explain, but if you loved Remedy's previous games, you will love Control. I also really enjoyed Gears 5. I played this with my boyfriend, both in campaign and in multiplayer. And the campaign mode is really cool if you're playing with 2 people, because one person plays as Kate Diaz, the other person plays as Dell. And I played as Kate, and the cool thing is, this is focused mostly on Kate, and if you're playing as Kate, you have a totally different experience from Dell. And my boyfriend was confused so many times because Kate has visions that kind of stop your gameplay for a bit. And my boyfriend's like, why aren't you moving? Why aren't you doing anything? I'm like, I'm having a vision. Just let me be. The visuals are gorgeous. The gunplay, like always, feels so crunchy and satisfying. I loved using the Lancer. I just always loved the Lancer. It's my favorite gun out of the Gears franchise. I really enjoyed the story. I love seeing returning characters. And the way it ended is so pivotal to how this franchise will continue that it's just shocking. Multiplayer, I actually love the multiplayer in Gears. I thought I hated multiplayer, like Call of Duty Battlefield multiplayer, because it was just frustrating. But Gears, even though I've heard it's harder than COD and Battlefield, is right up my alley for some reason. I like that you have to duck behind cover, you have to be careful. I like the regenerating health. I like how tough it is. Like, I like that. And I really enjoy it. And I might hop in occasionally and play some multiplayer because I actually really like it. I'm surprised. And I'm not that bad at it, to be honest. So I really like Gears, and Gears 5 is an excellent entry into this very famous franchise. The last game I want to talk about, and the last thing I want to talk about, and boy is my voice going hoarse on me, is Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartender Action. This is a game that I believe was originally released on PS Vita, but has been released on PS4 and Nintendo Switch. I played it on the Switch, and it just feels so good to play it handheld. But you play as a bartender named Jill, who every night you make drinks for people. They tell you what's going on in their lives, but you also have to manage your apartment and buy things to make yourself happy, and you learn the story of Jill and why she is the way she is. It's just so fascinating. I really love the soundtrack to the game. The visuals intrigue me. I love the cyberpunk aesthetic, and this is just a very unique game. It is mainly a visual novel, to be honest, but the act of making the drinks was very soothing to me. I just loved it for some reason. And there are multiple endings, so you can play it again to try to get a different ending. I highly recommend it if you're into this kind of game, if you're looking for something more niche. It's not very expensive, I don't believe, and it's totally worth the price tag, in my opinion. But I had so much fun with Valhalla. So that's everything I loved in August and September. I'm wrapping this up because Sister's voice is getting tired. But if you love this video, leave a like. Let me know down below what your favorites have been in this month or the previous months, or what your favorites were today, or just let me know anything. If you don't want to let me know anything, just leave an emoji, because every comment counts and helps. If you're not subscribed, but you like what you've seen and heard, even if it is noobish, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you tap the notification bell so you're always alerted whenever I upload a new video. I will try to become more active on YouTube again. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on social media sites, those are all linked in the description box below the video. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!